Hello, this is Melissa Ford. This is a part of our series brought to you by the Holliston Historical Society on people and places in Holliston. And we're shooting today from the beautiful Kampersal field, which is on the corner of South Street and Kampersal Road, up in the Braggville, or the far end of town near the Milford line. The Kampersal field is kind of an interesting side note. There's been softball games and baseball games and family picnics and parties and all kinds of things held here for as long as I've lived in town, which is 65 years. And it was donated by Mr. Kampersal Rain and then cleared, and it's maintained to this day by Carrie Kampersal, who lets a lot of other people use it whenever. It's maintained beautifully as a ball field and just really a neat area. The Kampersal's contribution to not only the Holliston Fire Department by building the station with the help of a lot of Braggville residents and then serving in the United States military for the last 3 generations. And it was just a wonderful experience to be able to learn all of these stories and hear all this information about this family and all their contributions to Holliston. All right, in this segment, we're going to talk about the contribution of the Kampersal family to the Holliston Fire Department, in particular, the construction of the McCormick Braggville Station, which housed Engine 4, I guess. George, tell me a little bit about how that came about.
Well, as the story goes, there wasn't any town water at this end of town, and the insurance companies kept raising the rates and talking about funding of town water up here or something, so they said a fire station would suffice in the neighborhood. So the group got together and decided they would be able to build one if the town gave them a fire engine to use. So the neighborhood group, they got the money to fund it, and the group of the neighborhood who were going to be on the department, along with the Kampersals, helped out. And it took them almost a year to finish building it.
And the town allocated a generous $2,000 for materials to do that. And how did you acquire the land?
It was on time and under budget. So
like the Hoover Dam, on time and under budget. I like that.
You can't beat that. So, and the names, Sam Galley and the Kampersal boys. I'm missing some of their names. Irusi and
John Galley.
And John Galley was one, right?
Yep. I remember some of those people from years past.
Kind of drawing a blank, but all of them.
Al Bindle was up in Medway.
Right.
He lives in Medway. He lent us his backhoe, so.
And it was given the name McCormick because?
McCormick joined the group to build it, and because he was covered under it, and donated the land to build the station.
Awesome. And I understand it's currently celebrating 66 years in existence. And Millie, you had a great little fact about what's happened with another generation of Kampersals to contribute to that refurbishing of the station.
Oh, yeah. Well, when George retired from the fire department, John Murphy was appointed captain, and now John's retired, and we have a new captain. And the new captain is gung-ho, and the fire station is being repurposed because the trucks are too big to fit in it right now. So the trucks are someplace else, but the town is going to use it for other things. So now our new captain is cleaning it out with his men and his family. They are going to paint the outside, and they painted the door, and they were going to paint the sign. And with a little, maybe too much pressure from her mother, I asked my daughter if she could redo the McCormick sign that's over the top of the station. So Jeannie accepted the challenge, and it turned out to be a little more challenging than we thought. She did paint it and got the McCormick all done nicely. And then Chief allowed us to order some decals. So these weren't on there before. She ordered one that says it was established in 1954. Ordered one that has the Holliston Fire Department patch on it. And the chief gave permission and kind of suggested that we put a Kampersal bottle cap on it in honor of the Kampersal brothers who
Oh, that's
have
awesome.
served, over 226 years. And my father-in-law was part of the committee that was on the budget for building the fire station.
Wow.
So, it kind of honored him too. And of course,
Awesome.
every time the alarm went off, he lost his help because they went to the fire instead of working at the dairy.
Because Holliston has a completely volunteer fire department, it was kind of an interesting story to listen to. When the old days, they used to ring at the fire station downtown with a code. So if you memorized the code of where you live, if you heard that and you were in school or in a store or something, you could tell where the fire is. So up here, it was a little bit different. So George, can you give us a little bit more information about that? Where the alarm was and stuff?
Well, the alarm was on the farmhouse, and they would actually phone call the alarm to that number and tell where the fire was, and they'd ring the alarm. And when they got to the station, they were able to call downtown and find out where the fire was once you got there. And then everybody would take off that heard it and
I love that comment.
respond.
And then, because in Bragville, the alarm covered South Street, the captain's wives, in this case Millie, would need to call volunteers on Washington Street because it was up around the
Right,
corner,
they had a
and
telephone
get them
chain
to come.
at times.
You were never sure if they were going to hear the alarm, depending on which way the wind was blowing.
All right.
So they couldn't count on that, especially at night. During the day, some of them weren't around anyway because they had their own jobs. So I had a list of the other three. 6 of the brothers lived right here on South Street. So they heard the alarm, but the other 3 I would call on the phone.
Night or day. Didn't
Yeah,
matter
night,
when it was.
night or day. One was Franny Diani, one was Louis Bazazzi, we called him Junie, and one was Chicky Gelly, John Gelly. And they were on, until
Amazing.
they reached retirement age, and then we had new fresh blood.
And Dawn had a really cute story about when the fire whistle would go on, and there's a softball game in place. So
when
tell them that
the
story.
Kampersal team was playing, and we were here watching the team because we were our uncles and dad. And then the alarm would go off, and everyone would throw their bats and gloves down and run to the to the station. And the other team's like, "What?
What's
what?"
happening?
But then, Uncle Harold would be on the back of it, what?
That's true community
half the
spirit.
team
That
lead
really
class.
is. That's awesome. I love the story. But I think that the legacy of the Kampersal family in helping to build the station and spending the time and energy and effort all of your lives. How many years, Millie? It was 200 and some odd years all told for the brothers?
Between the 6 boys, it was a total of 226 combined volunteer years that they put in. Ernie did, I think, 22, and then the others did 40 or more. George himself did 41. So, yeah.
There was a nice letter that Millie shared with me about Andy Porter, who was at that time a selectman, reading something when George was retiring after 38 years as captain and 40 some odd years in the fire department. And it says that just over the Milford line, a tree crashed down in a car, injuring the occupants. Holliston Fire and Police provided mutual aid as the Milford crews were responding to another request. We had to use everything. We were never overextended, declared Chief Mike Cassidy. We had Engine 4 in staging to cover the fire at a station while everybody else was at the other fire. Andy Porter, speaking to many firefighters and their families at George Kampersal's party honoring his retirement, the next day said, "We were fully staffed. We didn't have to call for help. Instead, we gave mutual aid. We need people in town to understand how important families like the Kampersals and others who serve on our on-call fire department are to us. There is no other department like it in the state." Which really, that's a great tribute to have anybody to say, but definitely at your party. So I think that was awesome, and that finishes the fire part. But while we were talking, we discussed also the military service that the Kampersal family contributed. And of all of the brothers, 4 of them served in the military, 2 of them in the U.S. Army, and you can give us a little bit more information about that, George, if you would, please.
Was Alfred and Harold enlisted right when everything started, and Richard was a little younger, so he ended up in Korea at the end, and Ernie was stateside for his whole service. So
I was particularly interested in the story about Harold when he was at one point in Germany, that you could give us a little bit of blurb on that one. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, when everything was winding down and they were just kind of search and rescue and make sure everything was okay, cleaning up, and so they went into a building, and they were searching around, and he was looking for things in the kitchen, and when he turned around, there was a German with a rifle, and he wasn't sure what was going to happen, but he turned around and the German dropped his rifle and surrendered.
Wow.
And he was a medic, so he didn't carry a rifle.
Wow.
So
he was a very lucky guy that day. And then Alfred, that was a great story too of what Alfred did in the service.
Oh yeah, Alfred was a truck driver and landed within the first week or so of Normandy, and drove for the Red Ball Express, they called it, once that started, and deliver goods from the ship, from the beach to the front, and then back to the beach and pick up another load. And of course there were thousands of them, but he was just one of them. But
amazing. I'm really a big student of history, and I didn't know what the Red Ball Express was, and then Dawn Googled it for us.
Right, so the Red Ball Express, according to Wikipedia, says it was a famed truck convoy system that supplied Allied forces moving quickly through Europe after breaking out from D-Day beaches in Normandy in 1944 to expedite cargo shipment to the front. Trucks emblazoned with red balls, followed by a similarly marked route that was closed to civilian traffic.
Amazing.
I know.
Imagine that. I can't imagine schlepping all that stuff back and forth from the beach for all those men. And that must have been just a horrendous time with the noise and the bombings and the guns and everything. I can't really even imagine it. The next generation also participated. Tommy Gelly, who was in the U.S. Army. I went to high school with him. He was killed, unfortunately, in Vietnam. Tommy was the son of Betty and Fran Gelly. And Donnie, Tom's brother, served in the Army as well. Alfred Freeberg in the U.S. Air Force also served in Nam, and Brian Kampersal in the Navy. Yet a third generation, currently, Patrick Kampersal, who is the son of Heidi that we saw earlier running the farm, is now serving in the Air Force. He's currently in Texas, and he's going to be redeployed to Poland next week. So he's quite excited about that, and it looks like he might make it a career. He's really doing a really good job and really loves it. So 6 of the Kampersal men served in the Holliston Fire Department with a 226-year combined service. The last being George, here with us today, who served as 41 years and 38 years as a captain. That's just an awesome legacy. Just is amazing the amount of caring and generosity that this family has shown. Community spirit in supporting the construction and staffing of the McCormick Fire Station, the entry and work ethic coming from their dad and grandfather, coming to Holliston to the United States rather at 15, and then coming and buying a farm at age 23 and starting it. I'm just talk about guts and grit. It's just amazing. And then raising 10 kids. And Mrs. Kampersal must have been I would have loved to have known her more. She just must have been amazing. Just amazing. And we have a newspaper article that you'd probably be interested in that was from 2005 when George retired from the fire department. And the Middlesex News published an article that, Millie, give us a little bit of information about that, if you would, please.
Yeah. Because my husband retired, George, and he was the last of the boys to serve on the fire department. there was a lot of press and history about the 6 Kampersal brothers, which is kind of unusual to have 6 people from the same family on the same engine company in the same town, for so many years. So there were a lot of write-ups. This just happened to be one of them, and we had it printed, but it says the youngest and final brother from Holliston's firefighting family retires and how the town will miss their devotion. And it goes to explain some of the different fires that they had gone to, including the big state lumber fire, and how they were there for day and night, for a while. It kind of quotes my brother-in-law talking about going to a fire and how they would pack a sandwich if they knew it was a big fire. Here they're going, but their wives get lunch ready for them and they take their sandwich and go, he says, and then he laughs at himself, which is a Kampersal trait, laughing at your own jokes. But like that wouldn't happen today, the guys today wouldn't be allowed to do some of that stuff. But things were different then, and
it's great to have all these mementos too of all the things that they contributed to the town, and to building the fire station, and all of the whole family dynamic has been just amazing. So I really appreciate the time that you've spent and all of the information that you've shared, and the pictures and articles and information. It's been just awesome. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
One other interesting thing is none of the sons of the whole family, except for Harold's son John, became a fireman.
Really?
I think being woken up in the middle of the night might have slowed them down or scared them.
They didn't want that.
They didn't want that.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this in our series. We're really very proud of being able to interview these families that have brought so much to the town and have so many different contributions that perhaps a lot of people don't know about. We will be bringing you more family stories in the near future, in the next couple of months, and we look forward to having you watch again. Thank you so much.